was flooded with millions of dollars from the time I was 16.
Everybody keeps throwing around that NBA YoungBoy is worth close to $500 million at just 26, and we all know he's never been shy about spending big. But today, we're not talking chains or cars. We're breaking down the land, the estates, the full-blown mansions he stacked over the years. And listen, some of these properties are different. We're talking price tags that'll make your chest tight and moves so strategic they look like something straight out of Wall Street. From his main compound in Utah, yeah, the one where he did over 2 years on house arrest, to his early days in Baton Rouge where the grind started, we're unpacking the whole real estate playbook. But hold up, here's the twist. By the time we're done, you're going to see how he flipped legal pressure into a property portfolio worth tens of millions. So don't click off, because these numbers might change how you look at building wealth in your 20s. And trust me, the final property on this list? Wild. Let's start with YoungBoy's primary residence, because this deal right here is iconic and the financials behind it are serious. I'm not exaggerating. Let me walk you through it. He picked up an 8,800 square foot mansion in the Olympus Cove area of Mill Creek back in April 2022. Now here's where it gets interesting. YB reportedly paid about $4.2 million for it up front. Yes, $4.2 million for 1.46 acres in one of Utah's most elite pockets. And he dubbed it Gravedigger Mountain, which honestly fits the energy. But there's a reason the number was that high. Olympus Cove isn't average. It's where executives, pro athletes, and generational wealth live. The median home value in that neighborhood hovers around $2.8 million, so he definitely paid above the baseline. And once you look at what comes with it, you'll see why he went heavy. The property really hit global headlines when YoungBoy was confined there on house arrest from October 2021 through April 2024.
Utah has sentenced the rapper NBA YoungBoy to 23 months in prison on charges. The 25-year-old, whose real name is Kentrell Galden, was also sentenced to 5 years of probation and fined $200,000.
That's more than 2 full years, family. That mansion basically became NBA YoungBoy's entire universe. And instead of letting it cage him, he turned it into a revenue engine. The estate packs 4 bedrooms, 7 bathrooms, and a 5-car garage. And you already know that garage had to accommodate a serious fleet. But listen to this. There's a private indoor elevator in the house, and installs like that can easily run around $150,000 by themselves. Add in a resort-style swimming pool wrapped in stone terraces and sleek glass railings, reportedly a $300,000 flex. And the real gem? A custom-built recording studio, where he was laying down tracks while confined at home. That studio became the heartbeat of the operation. Property analysts estimate he dropped another $500,000 on professional soundproofing and top-tier recording gear alone. During house arrest, he recorded multiple projects from inside those walls, bringing in millions. So this wasn't just a residence, it was corporate headquarters. The primary suite includes a fireplace, and the marble bathrooms, roughly $80,000 each, scream luxury. There's even a bunk bed and gaming area designed for his kids when they stay over. But what truly elevates the property are the floor-to-ceiling glass panels, showcasing sweeping views of the Salt Lake Valley, the Wasatch Range, and the Great Salt Lake. Custom glasswork like that can cost another $200,000 easy. You can tell he was living elite, even under supervision. Now here's the investment angle. The home hit the market at $5.5 million in February 2024. That's about a $1.3 million increase in under 2 years, roughly a 31% return, which is wild in this market. Most Utah properties during that window climbed closer to 15 to 20%, so his place beat the average by a mile. And here's what makes it even more interesting. After being released from federal custody in March 2025, YoungBoy reportedly returned right back to that same mansion.
And peep this, he reportedly has armed private security circling the property 24/7, which runs about $50,000 a month. That's roughly $600,000 a year strictly for protection. But when you're talking about someone with an estimated $500 million net worth, that's the price of peace. And while the main mansion already paid off nicely, his real estate strategy didn't stop there because he quietly secured another Utah property that might be even more strategic. Now let's talk about his second Utah move, because this is where it starts looking like chess instead of checkers. The financials behind this one? Serious. In 2023, while still navigating his legal situation, NBA YoungBoy picked up another estate in Huntsville, Utah, and he reportedly kept the branding consistent, calling it Gravedigger Mountain 2. This property spans multiple acres. While the exact size hasn't been publicly confirmed, insiders say it dwarfs the Mill Creek home. Estimates suggest anywhere from 10 to 15 acres of Utah landscape. Now here's where it escalates. Large acreage estates in Huntsville typically range between $3 million and $8 million depending on location and amenities. But he didn't just grab undeveloped land. Public records indicate he purchased an existing residence and then invested heavily into upgrades and advanced security enhancements. What really stood out was how quietly this deal happened. While the spotlight stayed on his primary mansion during house arrest, he was discreetly expanding his footprint. Industry watchers estimate the Huntsville acquisition, including renovations and improvements, totaled around $6.5 million. The property was also reportedly approved for use during his house arrest, meaning he had more than one compliant location available under federal monitoring. That's strategic foresight. Having multiple court-approved residences creates flexibility within strict conditions. Many overlook the fact that additional approved properties can actually provide more mobility within supervised release guidelines. Now here's the long-term play. Huntsville and surrounding Utah markets have been seeing accelerated growth. An influx of tech expansion and high-net-worth buyers seeking privacy has pushed property values upward. Comparable estates in that region have appreciated 40 to 50% over the past 2 years. Holding multiple properties during legal supervision ultimately worked in his favor, both financially and procedurally. It demonstrated stability to the court and positioned him for strong equity growth. It's a calculated approach, building redundancy into your living arrangements while navigating legal pressure.
According to analysts who track Utah luxury markets, NBA YoungBoy's Huntsville estate could now be valued somewhere between $8 and $12 million. That suggests a possible $2 to $4 million gain in under 2 years. That's hedge fund level performance, and he positioned himself for that upside while under house arrest. Go ahead and tap subscribe before we move forward, because the next chapter ties his childhood block to a growing property empire, and the math behind it might surprise you. To really understand his real estate blueprint, we have to circle back to 3863 Chippewa Street in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, because this address carries deeper meaning than dollars. This was the home where he spent his early years. There's even a Google Street View image capturing a teenage young boy standing outside that very house, a rare visual timestamp of his beginnings. What many don't realize is that he's quietly been acquiring additional properties in that same neighborhood, and the strategy is calculated. The original family house is estimated to be worth roughly $150,000 to $200,000 today. Compared to multi-million-dollar Utah estates, that's modest, but it serves a different purpose. Sources indicate he's purchased 3 or 4 nearby properties over recent years. Altogether, that likely represents $800,000 to $1.2 million invested in Baton Rouge real estate. For someone with substantial wealth, that amount isn't headline-grabbing, but the approach is strategic. By consolidating property on his home turf, he's influencing local value growth directly. That's the same neighborhood where early music videos were filmed and where his story began. It's also an area that historically saw limited outside investment. By improving multiple homes, he's effectively driving revitalization himself. Industry professionals often refer to this as celebrity-led neighborhood uplift, which can significantly accelerate appreciation over time. For him, these houses aren't just assets, they represent origin and ownership. This is where he first sharpened his voice and ambition. Now he's channeling capital back into the streets that shaped him. The location also carries complex history. It's the same neighborhood tied to his 2020 arrest, so it symbolizes both ascent and adversity. Rather than distancing himself from that chapter, he's reinvesting in it. Local reports mention renovation crews updating interiors, utilities, and security features across those properties. At present, he likely controls between $1.5 and $2 million in real estate in that area. If appreciation trends hold and revitalization continues, those holdings could potentially reach $3 to $5 million in value over the next 5 to 10 years. That's the type of long-game mindset that separates asset builders from people who just flex. Now let's pivot to NBA YoungBoy's short-lived but costly Los Angeles chapter, because this move burned cash but delivered lessons you can't put a price on. And when you actually crunch the numbers, it's wild. In 2018, he relocated to Los Angeles with his brother NBA Ken after stepping away from Louisiana. This was early in his breakout phase when he was trying to expand beyond the South and tap into the West Coast scene. Property data and reports from that time suggest he committed roughly $3.2 million toward a Hollywood Hills estate. The residence measured about 6,500 square feet with 5 bedrooms, 6 bathrooms, an infinity pool, and sweeping skyline views. Back then, that was major money for a young artist just entering peak visibility, but he was aiming to plant roots in the entertainment capital. Here's where the financial layer deepens. He reportedly poured another $800,000 into upgrades and customization. That included a $400,000 in-home studio build-out, $200,000 in enhanced security, and another $200,000 in luxury furnishings and artwork. That places his total exposure around $4 million. The turning point came when he realized Los Angeles didn't align with his lifestyle, and the monetary impact wasn't small.
While many artists were racing to establish permanence in LA, he began reassessing quickly. The catch was he had structured the arrangement as a long-term lease with an option to purchase, locking him into roughly $35,000 per month regardless of occupancy. Sources estimate he paid close to $420,000 in rent and exit-related costs before stepping away, nearly $500,000 tied to a property he barely occupied. But that experience reshaped his entire real estate outlook. The long-term ripple effect arguably preserved far more capital. After dealing with the exposure and constant attention that comes with LA living, he shifted toward privacy-driven markets. That pivot directly influenced his later move to Utah, where cost-to-value ratios were dramatically stronger. A comparable estate to his Utah home in Los Angeles likely would have ranged between $15 and $20 million versus the $4.2 million he ultimately invested in Utah. In that sense, the $420,000 setback functioned as tuition that prevented an 8-figure overcommitment. That's expensive insight, but profitable in hindsight. Today, the Hollywood Hills property he leased is estimated around $5.8 million, reflecting about $2.6 million in appreciation since 2018. Had he purchased outright, the equity upside would have been significant. But he also would have been anchored to a market that didn't fit his legal circumstances or personal preference. Now, the most recent chapter in his property story adds another layer to the strategy. In late March 2025, YoungBoy was released from FCI Talladega and transitioned to a residential reentry program in Phoenix, Arizona. He operated under a 30-day curfew with location restrictions until his April 26, 2025 full release date. During that period, his real estate portfolio continued working in the background. His Mill Creek property, originally acquired for $4.2 million, later surfaced on the market at $5.5 million, demonstrating that even during incarceration, his assets were compounding. That's a $1.3 million jump in value while he was sitting behind the wall. And listen to this, the Huntsville property probably climbed even higher, stacking another $2 to $4 million in appreciation. This is where the real estate chess match starts to make sense. The moment he was released, YB headed straight back to his Mill Creek, Utah mansion like nothing changed. Even with the house sitting on the market at $5.5 million, he pulled back up with heavily armed private security circling the estate.
Hold up, that's strategic on a different level, keeping your primary residence locked in and ready even while you're locked up. Now here's the part people overlook. By living in the mansion while it's still listed, YB is basically testing buyers to see if someone will bite above asking. In today's luxury market, estates like that can spark bidding wars and close 10 to 20% over list. That's potentially another $550,000 to $1.1 million landing in his account. What really had the neighborhood talking was the intense security presence when he returned. But from a business standpoint, pouring money into protection is just asset management 101. Neighbors reported armed guards on patrol around the clock, which runs close to $50,000 every single month. For someone with YB's net worth and complicated legal background, that cost isn't flexing, it's safeguarding a much bigger empire. Right now, he's serving 5 years of federal supervised release, so yes, his movements are still tracked, but using that Utah mansion as headquarters gives him privacy, protection, and full compliance with probation terms. It's tailored perfectly for someone navigating that kind of spotlight, and it shields millions in property value. When you total up all of NBA YoungBoy's verified real estate plays and then think about what might not be public, the scale is honestly wild. His main Mill Creek mansion is listed at $5.5 million, yet analysts say homes like that could realistically fetch $6 to $7 million in this climate. With 8,800 square feet, 1.46 acres, and high-end finishes, it sits in one of Utah's most elite pockets. That translates to roughly $1.5 to $2 million in upside from his original $4.2 million purchase. The Huntsville property, spread across multiple acres, could now command anywhere from $8 to $12 million based on recent comps. If his total investment there was around $6.5 million, that's another $2 to $5 million in potential profit. And don't sleep on his Baton Rouge holdings, because while smaller individually, they show long-game vision with an estimated $1.2 to $2 million deployed and projections of 200 to 300% appreciation over the next decade.
Down the line, YB could realistically be sitting on $3 to $5 million in Louisiana property alone. That Los Angeles mansion saga might have stung at first, but it ultimately saved him millions by steering him away from overpriced West Coast real estate. That $420,000 lesson stopped him from walking into a $15 to $20 million disaster. But hold up, this is what people miss. We're only talking about the homes that have surfaced publicly. Somebody with NBA YoungBoy's level of wealth and demand for privacy probably owns more real estate than we even know about. Industry insiders say high-net-worth celebrities routinely park properties under LLCs and trusts so their names never hit public records. Sources tied to the luxury housing world suggest YB may control additional homes in at least 2 or 3 other states. Conservative projections put another $10 to $15 million in property that hasn't been publicly traced. When you stack potential hidden holdings, land investments, and appreciation from what we already know, his portfolio could easily sit between $25 and $35 million today. And you won't believe this part. If appreciation keeps trending the way it has, that number could balloon to $50 to $70 million within 5 years. That's generational wealth being engineered through calculated property plays, all while fighting legal battles and serving federal time. The wildest part is he built this empire under constant legal pressure and real security risks. Most 26-year-olds are debating their first mortgage. Meanwhile, YB has been assembling a multi-million-dollar portfolio while navigating federal charges and house arrest. What these moves really reveal is that he thinks like a Wall Street strategist, not just an artist collecting plaques. Every acquisition shows layered financial planning behind it. Choosing Utah instead of rap hubs like Atlanta, Miami, or LA was a power move because he secured more land, more privacy, and stronger value per dollar. In Atlanta, a property matching his $4.2 million Utah mansion would have easily cost $8 to $12 million. Miami would have pushed that price to $10 to $15 million. And in Los Angeles, you're looking at $15 to $20 million without blinking. Naming both Utah estates Gravedigger Mountain isn't random either. It signals he's crafting a real estate identity, not just buying houses. That's branding strategy mixed with long-term vision for expansion or future development.
Owning multiple properties within Utah also aligned perfectly with his legal and financial strategy. It demonstrated to the courts that he was rooted in the state and compliant with regulations, which likely strengthened his house arrest positioning, while simultaneously letting him capitalize on Utah's red-hot housing growth in different areas. And those intense security measures, they're not just about protection, they're guarding assets worth tens of millions of dollars. When you're worth hundreds of millions and your roots trace back to the trenches, living normal isn't even an option. Those armed guards and gated estates aren't a flex for Instagram. They're essential layers of protection for him, his family, and assets worth millions. His Baton Rouge strategy proves he's not just stacking properties, he's thinking long-term about ownership and influence. By putting money back into his old neighborhood, YB is increasing property value while reinvesting in the community that raised him. That's how you build wealth that actually lasts and a legacy people remember. So yeah, that's the bigger picture. NBA YoungBoy's real estate portfolio is far more calculated and far more valuable than most folks give him credit for. And when you really crush the numbers, it gets crazy. From that childhood home in Baton Rouge to sprawling Utah compounds, every purchase reflects a chapter in his evolution from street kid to one of the youngest heavy hitters in the property game. We're looking at a portfolio hovering around $25 to $35 million right now, with projections that could push it to $50 to $70 million in 5 years. The fact that he assembled all of this while juggling legal battles, house arrest, and federal time makes it hit even harder. Most people in that position would have watched it all collapse. Instead, YB stayed strategic and positioned himself for generational wealth. His current reality, living in a $5.5 million Utah mansion under armed security while on federal probation, is proof that success doesn't erase risk. But owning solid real estate gives him leverage and stability that a lot of artists simply don't have. The most impressive twist? He flipped legal restrictions into financial opportunity. While confined to house arrest, his properties were quietly climbing in value. While serving time, the housing market was still cutting him checks on paper. That's real passive wealth building. And if you think that's wild, wait until you see how other young rappers are multiplying money outside the booth. Some of these plays are on a whole different level. Tap into that next video and see how this new generation is engineering wealth that could set up their great-grandkids for life. Trust me, the figures in that breakdown might just make YB's portfolio look small. No exaggeration.